today's masterclass. I'm Josefina Insausti, Program Marketing Manager at Zigurat, and thank you for joining us today. So just a quick overview for those of you who may not know us. Zigurat is an online institution with over 20 years of experience in e-learning, and we provide postgraduate and master's programs in architecture, engineering, and tech management. And being it's an online institution, we have students and faculty boards from all over the world. So you can see there a picture of our latest student week. So it's a really, really big and interesting community. And today's masterclass is related to one of our programs, the Masters in Global BIM Management and Civil Engineering and GIS. So it's basically a one-year program with a live online methodology that will teach you tools and strategies for you to master BIM in infrastructure projects. So from conception to execution, it gives you a very comprehensive overview. It's a really hands-on program that culminates with a master's project that it's a collaborative teamwork that will simulate a real linear infrastructure project using OpenBIM. So you can scan the code if you want to get more details. As all of our master's programs, it gives you a double degree with the University of Barcelona. So today's masterclass is given by Clare Taylor. She's head of digital delivery at MWH Treatment, and he's the chair of BIM for Water. So without further ado, I'll give the floor to you, Claire.
Thank you very much.
So I'll stop sharing.
Great.
And I'll give it over to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I'll just switch.
So please leave your comments and questions in the chat, and we'll address them in the end.
Great, thank you. I hope everyone can see my screen. I will just apologise in advance. I do have a bit of a cough, so apologies if I have a tickle halfway through, but we'll try and get through. So, as we said, we're going to talk today in this 30 to 40-minute session on from how we move from data to equitable workplaces and that VDC revolution. So for me, it's about understanding how we can maximise the value of the data we may already have, or what information we want to capture and data we want to capture to support insights and project information to create more inclusive and equitable workplaces. So how can we bring more people into the conversation by applying digital technologies through virtual design and construction? So just going to give a little bit of background about who I am. So Clare Taylor, as she said, head of digital delivery for MWH Treatment. So MWH are a design and build contractor primarily focused in the water sector. So we're on the majority of the water frameworks in the UK and over in Ireland as well. And we sit under RSK, the RSK group, who are engineering, technology and science company. I'm also the chair of BIM for Water. So this is a group of kind of technology and digital experts in the water sector looking to support the digital transformation and acceleration of adoption of digital processes and tools in the sector, made up of a huge group of suppliers, manufacturers, contractors, and the water company themselves. But it's about debadging and looking at the challenges we face and working together in that environment. So do say, if you want more information, go and find us on LinkedIn and look at that as well. And I also cover and lecture on the Masters in Global BIM Management and Civil Engineering on the 4D BIM module and the virtual design and construction. And my other job is I'm a fitness instructor as well. So I've got multiple hats. So the journey that we're going to talk about today is looking at that traditional engineering and what that looked like and what it felt like, and how actually digital technology and virtual design and construction has gravitated the sector into a very different place, and to me a much better place. When we look at that, you know, it's black and white and it looks very old and traditional for shock impact, but what that's showing is very traditional analog in silo working, 2D drawings, very flat, requiring a really high level of technical excellence and understanding from individuals working in that office, as well on site, looking at that environment, which is very, here's a bit of a pack of drawings, here's a site plan, go and do what you need to do to just build it. Sometimes with disregard for safety, working environments, and the challenges and the potential out of control issues that are on that site and that environment, the external influences. For me, when we look at both scenarios, you can probably seek to understand what route and academic routes they've come through. You know, very traditional through graduating, going through university, coming into a design office or a construction company and working there for 20 to 30 years. And that's probably what they've always known. And for me, that's great for experience and that knowledge, but actually, are we getting enough of a diverse mix in the information we're seeing? And also, are we excluding people from conversations by assuming they can understand information? So, us ourselves as MWH, we were probably a very traditional analog company with that same white shirt, tie kind of look about ourselves. But we understood in order to stand out, in order to achieve different outcomes in the way we provide solutions, we needed to change to a digital format. We needed to start to bring information in all these data sets into one holistic overview and visualize it and present the data in a way that was understandable by the majority and was more inclusive. And this whole thing that we're going to talk about today is looking at how tools and technology can bring more people into conversations. We don't always need that 20 to 30 years of experience to make equitable workplaces. What we need to do is use technologies to provide that. And looking at data and the value of data and how that can support and underpin your virtual design and construction to create those inclusive working environments. And for me, a lot of this we're probably already doing the stuff that you're already doing in your day-to-day operation in your jobs. But all I'm going to do is highlight some of those points, and maybe you can focus on it or look out for it in the future. And for me, it's about bringing that workforce, that diverse mix of people, not only from geographically different backgrounds, but from their experience. Have they come in from automotive, manufacturing, the healthcare system, gaming? I know our offices look very different when we start to talk to people and go, what's your background? What's your story? And for me, that's what the construction sector needs to start to look like, that difference. We need to celebrate those differences and that inclusivity. And again, on that data, understanding what data we have throughout the project lifecycle. So, what is VDC? So, VDC is the process of utilizing digital tools to plan, design, construction, and commissioning an asset. So, it not only applies to that kind of construction and commissioning phase, this is all the way from our concept phase up in the project delivery lifecycle. It's about capturing the information and displaying it in a format that will enable ultimately a digital twin. And I think for me, the rise of digital technology is transforming the construction industry and revolutionizing how we approach workplace equity. Again, going from that black and white analog process to that digital 3D environment and reflecting that on site as well. So using time-lapse cameras and things like that. For me, a huge one is if I asked everyone on this call to draw a mug, some of you would draw it from the side with the handle, some of you may draw it from the top, the bottom, or handle view. None of that is incorrect, but you can see how frustrations and the breakdown of communication happens when we're not all talking about the same thing. Digital technologies allow you to present the information in your eyes, rotate it, understand somebody else's view, and another as well. And that for me is really powerful in the way it can provide collaborative environments and understanding. A huge thing as well, which was a bit of a wake-up call for myself, was a couple of years ago I went to an event and it was engaged with the HSE, the Health and Safety Executive. And whenever there's an incident on site, we're often asked, did the construction companies take reasonably practical action to mitigate incidents on site? When you look at the tools and technologies that are available nowadays, this isn't about following checklists and forms. It's about, did we use the digital technologies available through VDC to mitigate the incident? Did we make safer decisions? And that's a huge thing for VDC and data capture is actually it can provide us insights to better ensure our people go home safer at the end of the day. So that's something to bear in mind. Sometimes change management and digital transformation can be hard, but actually, is there another benefit that we're not realizing and maximizing the value through? So harness that power through data and analytics, enable organization to address systemic disparities and make sure we're including people in those conversations. So I'm just going to cover, so this is what kind of VDC means to us in our business. And this is our digital delivery approach when we look at what tools provide the maximum value when we're delivering our projects. So underpinning all of this all the time should be, it's about successfully delivering a project to meet a client's needs. We go back to basics. Why do we do what we do? This is why. This is the drive on the project. Therefore, any digital tool or application we adopt should either be reducing cost, reducing time on site, or improving quality. And heavily linked to those is safety, carbon, and that sustainability as well. Is it improving efficiency? Is it providing safe systems of working? Is it providing controls, accuracy to ensure we deliver? And that should all be underpinned by that clear BIM execution plan, having that clear data requirements outlined in our BEP or our digital strategy. And again, making sure it's all controlled through any deviations are modified and controlled through that strategy. So we go out and we digitally survey and scan, and this is a huge thing. Understand your existing assets. What's the landscape you're going to go and work on? How many times do you have interface issues when you try to build something when you don't know actually what the dimensions are of a space? Works for building a kitchen, a house, on anything small scale. You still need to know what's your environment that you're integrating with. So go out, survey and scan. Visualize, build a 3D model. What is the scope that you're going to provide? Do away with that conflict with clients and that the kind of element of surprise and going, well, that's not what I thought I was getting. We like to know this is what we're providing. This is what we've understood. Do you accept? Yes. It's a lot easier to do with a 3D model or a visualization clip, like an MP4 file, rather than looking through multiple drawings. Again, do away with assumptions, act in factual data. And what we'll find is in that visualization and 3D model build is that level of data richness and that level of detail will improve as we progress through the project delivery lifecycle. We then look at design for manufacture and assembly. How can we modularize the build sequence to reduce time on site, keep people safer? And all of this requires that upfront planning phase. Again, if we're having more conversations, we're driving collaboration, we're bringing experts and more knowledge into the conversation because we've visualized what we want to do. We then rehearse, so 4D BIM and beyond 5D, 6D, looking at carbon and cost. But how are we going to build this sequence? Again, engage a different set of people, site teams, construction teams, supply chain, logistical managers. Bring them into that conversation and be data rich and data enabled. Field management, manage what's out in the field as well. This is about ensuring quality assurance for our clients. And then asset management and handover. Did we understand what our client wanted from us in terms of information when we hand this over? And again, this should all align with our digital strategy every time. And if there's any deviation, we need to check that. This is ultimately project controls at its fundamental level. This is about technology supporting those project controls. So I'm just going to show some video examples of each of those kind of bubbles. So surveying and scanning. So go and capture a point cloud. It probably takes half a day to a day to go out and capture a model. But this does away with those assumptions and those, oh, did I remember there was a switchboard in a certain room? Was there access? How quick and nice is it if you're designing on a CAD laptop, you can just have this on another screen and click back and forth. Do away with assumptions, act with fact, understand your process interfaces with existing assets and the plant that's on site as well. And make this accessible. Don't hide it away from everyone on a computer. Make sure it's in a common data environment that's accessible as well. Use visualization in various formats. Hopefully that's playing. Yeah. So we use things like this. Instead of having a 30-page PowerPoint identifying scope of projects, potential risks, engagement with customers, what we do is create a 1-minute video of a project, and we present that at our risk calls. It's a lot quicker to gain a lot of information in a visual format than it is to read through documents, because we get distracted. And then think about how are we presenting and using the information. Again, maximize value and make it understandable. So risk and method statements. Do a short video of how we're going to do that and get the teams to talk through it. This is about an operational handover maintenance video. Rather than reading an O&M manual, which could be hundreds of pages long, we can really quickly watch a video and get everyone in the room and have a conversation. Again, it's technically quite hard to go through and read that manual and understand what it's telling us. But if we can open up a conversation, create a forum and that safe environment for people to talk, that's a good way to be. And then I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit because it's quite a long video. DFMA, so that design for manufacturing assembly. You can already see here, we've opened up the conversation. So we've got site teams, designers, suppliers in that room, and we're using digital technologies to support those conversations and drive that modularized construction. We're interrogating the model. Again, picking up design issues really early on because we're having the right conversations. Like there, when the treatment manager leant over the handrail, he actually got that vertigo feeling. So when we were in the design phase, we increased the level and the height of that handrail. That cost us a lot less than doing that on site. Understanding this, sorry, having a tickle on my throat. How more engaged is anyone reviewing this 3D, sorry, the AR technology and the scope, rather than looking at a 2D drawing? I'm a person who needs to be up and scribbling on boards and get involved with technology and information rather than reading documents. I don't feel inspired. I don't come up with ideas. I don't innovate if it's a flat bit of information. And that's what we want. We want to empower individuals with all the information, that broader spectrum of what's happening with a project, to come up with those great ideas. It may be opportunities, you may be flagging up big risks, but it's a really good way to pick it up. And then reap the rewards. So here we've got a modularized Canby plant, and we dropped it in. And I believe they're half the time on site of doing this on the sites here. And then capture the as-built information as well. Make sure we're constantly adding those data layers every time at every stage of the project delivery cycle, because no doubt we will need that information as either handover or to use ourselves as lessons learned on next projects, or even returning to site, which we often do. And then looking at other technologies, so 4D BIM and digital rehearsal. This is about understanding how we are going to build something, not what we're going to build. We're really good at understanding we're going to put a treatment or a scope or an asset in to deal with a problem. But often we don't think, how are we going to do it? There's people having to go to site to build this. Remember, they're not a throwaway resource. We've got to protect and look after them. So let's invest in planning and making sure we understand where the temporary works are, what are the interfaces with the supply chains to be safer. And it also allows us to flag opportunities for things like, could we reuse crane mats? Could we reuse cranes and actually build one big crane pad in the center of site and have multiple deliveries in 1 week rather than staggered approach? Just allows that headspace to think differently. Water use as well, sustainable water management for hydrostatic testing of tanks and things like that. Can we think smarter given the data we're now presenting, and because we're no longer expecting people to just see a flat Gantt chart or program or schedule, which are hard to read, they can engage in the conversation as well. They can innovate, they can point risks, they can help support project. And that's what we want. Protect the project, protect the program at all times. And invest in things like your temporary works. Understand those zones of influence. Put in things like the RAG status triangles or even exclusion zone symbols. Again, we're so used to sometimes construction, we desensitize to what's in front of us. This is about just flagging those risks, drawing people's attention again, and making sure, yes, that graduate who hasn't got that experience or they're coming to site for the first time understands, yeah, I've got to be aware of these key areas. And rehearse commissioning as well. It's not about just the construction. Commissioning is just as important to rehearse. There's potential risk for clash of permits and things like that as well. And then field management. So once we are in the field, how are we ensuring we control the quality assurance for ourselves as a contractor, but also our subcontractors? So here, giving the guys iPads and using digital forms so they can go around and check off equipment checklist to make sure, yes, they've turned and ran through that sequence and can wet sign copy. That's our evidence pack to provide to the client as an acceptance to operate those bits of kit. It also helps us do site diaries, which are great for whenever there's an issue or a dispute, we can go back and say, well, we know how many contractors are on site, what the weather conditions were, capture photos, just have it as a full library and diary of what happened on site. I know they used to use site diaries, paper books. I think this is a great way where everyone can use it. And then use things like Power BI to create insights. So let's control and manage where we are. Let's have that progress management to understand where we are on site. And then if we need to stop and reassess, we can execute in the right place. And then again, that asset management and handover, understanding what our client will accept from us at the end of a project. What do they want to see? Is it a 3D model? Is it an as-built photogrammetry model using point cloud data? What do we want to understand at the end of the project as well? And I think that's really key when we talk about data, and that not only do we need to understand what the data we have, because often we don't know what the data is we have, understand why we want some data, why are we capturing information, or is it just dead data that we're not actually using? Or understanding and defining your roadmap. What's the data at the end of the project we want to come out with? Let's reverse engineer to ensure we capture the data all the way through. And then what's that language of data? What's the commonality or that data hierarchy and classification, or the ontologies of that data? I'm in the water sector. We have a defined work breakdown structure from our clients, and that's according to the assets, and we use things like Uniclass to define the coding for those. If we can marry up the 3D model with that coding and the P6 model, link the two, we can also tie in commercial data, all our folder structures, all the design deliverables. We can start to see that that's going to make our lives so much easier, and that's where we gain the efficiencies. So it is those investments in time that help support. So when does it apply? So for us, digital tools are integrated throughout the project delivery cycle. And this is how it changes how we deliver through visualization, data and analytics. So here, going up to that concept phase, go out and survey and capture the existing landscape, see what historical information and data you're handed over. And then as you progress through that definition design phase, that level of detail in your 3D model, when you're looking at clash detection, access lifting and maintenance regimes, HAZOPs, model clashes, using VR for kind of model checks as well. That level of detail will increase as well with supply chain data. When we're at that point where we build and commission, we should be rehearsing, reassessing, and managing what's happening on site, and then capturing the data to hand over and close out. So it may look very different, those digital tools that we use. And I think it's really key to understand it's the right tools at the right time, not all the tools all the time. And that's how you're going to maximize the value of them. So as you can see there, it's how are we going to deliver? Are we enabled to do so? Do we have the right information? Are we data affluent? And that can be commercial data, design data, environmental, do we have badges? Are there route protection zones? Have we got tricky customers close by? Do we have all that information ready to hit site at the right time when we can really truly make our footprint ready? And that's about having that continuity of works and that calmness. We don't want to hit site. We're waiting for design because we just wanted to get to site. We don't have all of the aspects of information, and then it becomes unsafe. And then when we're in that site position, measure. How are we capturing the progress and measuring it? How are we assessing and managing the data to make improvements? Or if there's an issue, how are we quickly resolving it? And I think digital applications are really good for that quick dispute resolution rather than waiting for technical queries with a 2-week response. Again, resolve those issues, move forward, and always be that footprint ready. But that really requires, are you data affluent with the information you need to progress to the next phase of project delivery? And then that, for me, it's kind of hidden under here, but stay left, shift left. This is a huge thing in the healthcare system in Ireland. So it's being proactive in the information you're capturing in order to make the right decision earlier. So they look at patients in the healthcare system who potentially are at risk of various health issues due to weather conditions or new, for instance, COVID and things like that. They go out and proactively engage with them and get the care they need earlier rather than waiting till they have to go to hospital. The same will apply to assets. If we get ahead of the curve, if we actively prepare ourselves with the right information and resources, then we're going to prevent ourselves hospitalizing our project. And that's what we want to do. Remember, we're protecting that project at the end of the day. So there's a nice way. I'll share the link, but it's Martin Curley who did a big paper on this. And I think you can take so much out of it on that stay left, shift left mentality. So what are the benefits of VDC? It's that having that bigger picture and scope engagement. We got feedback from the site teams when we started to use digital site inductions rather than PowerPoint. And for them, they said they felt invested in. They said it wasn't just a design that was modeled. They felt like, right, I was part of the picture and I was part of the team because you'd invested in that technology with me. It also allowed them to appreciate the wider scope of the project. Rather than just delivering their element of works, they understood what part of their jigsaw piece meant to the bigger picture. And I'm the same. If I know I'm part of a bigger team, I will work better, my quality will be improved, and I will be safer and of better quality in what I'm doing, and a pride in what I'm doing as well, because I'm part of a team. It's not just for me. So I think that was really powerful to hear back. Again, drive innovation because we're open and being transparent in data. Seek to understand those methodology, enhance your health and safety, because we're talking about the same information and data, and we're bringing more people's insights into those conversations. Understand your target audience. So when you're deploying a VDC, a digital delivery tool or application, understand who your target audience is. Are they going to be based in the site office? So in the project office, or are they going to be out on site? Can you imagine giving, say, a CAD designer an iPad and being out on site and saying, draw a 3D model on a iPad whilst it's raining with a site glove on? They're going to be really angry. And that's the appreciation. We've got to be empathetic to the environments. CAD person should be in an office with 2 or 3 screens, nice dry conditions, and that stable environment. So when we're trying to deploy digital tools to site teams, remember they've got PPE requirements. They've got a lot of uncontrollable, changeable external factors, time constraints. They're reliant on others to be around. They've almost not got that time to sit and learn a digital technology. So be prepared to invest your time to teach them. And it will take time. If you find a pain point, though, that, causes them issues on a daily basis, and you come up with a digital tool that will support that, get that pull from them, because they will adopt it. But again, understand your digital competency landscape in your business when you're deploying your VDC tools. What are your capabilities? Are people novice? Have they got an awareness? Are they user, trainer, or expert? Identify your champions and make sure they understand the background of the person they're trying to teach as well. You don't want an expert going out to site if they've never understood or worked in that environment. The conversation's not going to go well. So train your graduates, get them out on site, do reverse engineering as well. So yeah, who is your audience? Be iterative in that communication, engage, and just create that pull. But yeah, they're very different environments that you have to understand. And just finally, a couple more slides. So that problem statement for the sector, when we look at the resource issues and start to unpick the challenge that is going to be facing the water sector, particularly from my point of view, we can see we are going to have to look at those alternative backgrounds. We have to change the environment to attract, retain, and move forward as a sector. So, as this statement says, 48% of the contractor workforce in the water sector are over 50 years old and will retire in 20 years. And also, when you look at that, you think, okay, where are these resources going to come from? There's so much work around the world, but also, how are we going to get that level of experience? And we have to understand when we're hiring or recruiting, we need to de-risk the recruitment process and start to accept that if we want someone who's digitally enabled, they're not also going to be 20 to 30 years experienced in civil engineering, mechanical, electrical. They are going to bring a different skill set and a mentality, but they're going to need support. And we are going to have to start recruiting now, because that's a really scary figure. 50% of the workforce in 20 years retiring means those people in universities now need to be getting ready to come into this sector. And that, for me, is why I get involved with things like industry sponsorships, getting involved in the programs that the academics are creating, so we can support and make sure the skills that we need in 5-10 years are already being taught now. How do we also attract alternative sectors? Women make up only 30% of the workforce in the water industry. How do we engage and create those collaborative environments that make it suitable for them? For the sector to step change, we must encompass a novel approach in the way we train, upskill, recruit resources. We aren't attracting people as well as automotive, the rail sector, building sector. We really need to think, how can we make it more engaging? And I think digital's the big power tool for us. When you go to your kids and you see them using VR, drones, and you say, do you know what? That could be your job. You can see that light up, but do you know what? We're not getting involved early enough with schools to say this is a career path and this is what we need to start doing. And also, so I'll go back. when I looked at the illiteracy rate in construction, it sits at 23%. And I think that's quite shocking to think on all of our construction sites, we've assumed that 23% of people have understood the method statement for what they're doing, the site induction, and any documentation and the scope. But actually they didn't. And I bet they didn't feel confident enough to ask questions because of highlighting that factor. So for me, if I can get digital technologies applied to construction and commissioning sites, and now those 23% can be part of the conversation and understand what's happening, then that's a win for me. I'm just having a little cough. Oh. So just to finish, it's creating equitable workplaces, and the difference between equity and it's gone, my throat's gone. Equitable workplaces and equality, sorry, is equality is providing the same opportunities. Equity is understanding what do we need to provide in support in the way we're providing information to make it more inclusive for all. And I think that's a big drive on what virtual design construction can bring. Seek those alternative backgrounds. Go and hire people from alternative sectors. We've got people from the healthcare sector, gaming sector, all over, and they bring so much more from different ways of thinking, or they've already adopted technologies or tools that we can apply in our own sector. Be inclusive. Open up the conversation, because you'll make some great innovations, and that's a huge piece. And collaborate, create those safe spaces to work together and drive innovation, protect your projects, deliver those projects successfully, and also have fun doing it. For me, digital technologies makes me feel like a kid sometimes, a bit of a geeky kid at work, but I'd rather that than a very traditional and almost mundane. I want that questioning and that curiosity in my workspace, and that's what I want to harness and create. So thank you. That was my From Data to Equitable Workplaces. I hope you took some valuable stuff out of that. But for me, VDC promotes a sense of inclusion, belonging of employees from diverse backgrounds. It can break down barriers and help foster a more inclusive company culture and create an environment through technology where all individuals can thrive, contribute to their full potential. And that's something I would hope to carry on supporting through my role as head of digital delivery. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Claire. That was amazing. That was a really visual, appealing, and super complete presentation. So thanks a lot.
There is.
So I don't know if everyone has any questions. That this is your last chance. You can use the chat or open your mic as you wish. Okay, so we have a question here. Let's see.
Okay.
Great presentation, Trevor. Claire, have you any insight to new facility management tools that use open information standards?
Insights to new facility management. I don't, but I could probably follow up. So we don't really get involved with facility management stuff, but I can ask and I can follow that up. That's fine.
Great, Trevor. Okay, so Claire, thanks a lot.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you everybody for joining us. And so one more question. How do you decide what can be bottlenecks in the small companies?
What could be bottlenecks? So do you mean through the project delivery life cycle? So where are your pinch points in project delivery? Is that what you mean? Okay. Okay. So for me, it's again, we draw out what is our system architecture, what is our project architecture, and what are the workflows in the business. And through that, you will identify those duplications of effort. I know we've done that exercise quite recently ourselves, looking at the duplication, the double handling of information and having to manually input lots of data. So we've worked that all the way back, and it was something that was used for asset handover and commissioning. But now we have to define the data requirements really early on, in design. So I think just map it out. I know it's a big exercise sometimes, but you will find if you map it out, bring people in, they will say, yeah, well, I'm doing this here and this is my pain points. If you ask people, people are usually very vocal on their issues. I know sometimes I feel like a counsellor / a head of digital delivery, but that's what I want. I want to understand, where's your pain points? What do you need? And again, be aware of what's their environment that they're working in. What was the other one? What do you think about the open sources available? BIM and GIS. I'm not too sure. What is it? Cesium? We use a tool called Esri for ours, so that's GIS mapping. Again, it's just flagging the risk information, understanding what's on site. So for us, it works really well, and we're about to deploy that nationally across all the water frameworks because we see the benefit in one region to pull that through across all. But again, it's flagging all our environmental risks. What are the interfaces with the existing assets? What are the infrastructure projects are happening, because it's open data. So yeah, I think they're really good, definitely worth investing in. How to match? We've opened up all the questions now. How much the cost to build? I don't quite understand how much the cost to build VDC room.
Maybe Ahmed, can you
I was going to say, if you type more, and I'll go to the next one. What strategies?
We have other questions all of a sudden.
I know. What strategies can be used to introduce a VDC on mature natural gas pipeline? I'm trying to think. What strategies can be used to introduce virtual design? I think it's, again, understanding what data you've got. What's going to be your quick win? So what could you easily convert into a present data in a different format? For us, 4D was a quick win. We were already building 3D models and we already had P6. So it was just natural that we went, well, hang on, if we put the two together, that's a win. When we started to visualize, somebody said, oh, there's a gaming technology. So it's often just identify two data sets that maybe you can put together and get that momentum, and it will snowball, because people will start to challenge you to say, well, how can we do this? And we've progressed now where we've got an internal development team, because we want to push ourselves and we want to go, well, can we make that talk to that through AIs? Yeah, so understand your data, have that clear strategy of what you want to achieve. Digital technologies, it's all about deploying a proof of concept. So in ours, we have 7 regional frameworks. We do a proof of concept or a spotlight project, capture the benefits on that, and then realize the value. And it's either, yes, we deploy and we scale it across all the regions, or we quickly reject it and you move on. So it's that kind of iterative approach. Just going to go that role. Don't use have head of digital delivery and small company network. VDC environment. Yeah, so we say head of digital delivery. It could be a BIM coordinator. It could be, I've come to kind of from a 4D planning environment, a technician. and I used to be a planner. So there's multiple layers of roles, and we are in the process actually of BIM for Water in defining the roles, because there isn't a lot of career paths when it comes to digital, and that's something that we need to protect. In order to retain our staff, we need those clear career paths, because civil engineers become chartered and it's that graduate, senior, and it doesn't exist in the sector. What kind of data do we need to come up with? Hey. For data, it can be, well, 3D CAD model data. It could be number of resources on site. It just depends, I guess, what you want to see. It can be virtual design and construction, can be anything from dashboarding and providing data and analytics. So that visualization of who's on site, when, how many hours, or what documents they were working on. So on your common data environment, we can visualize that. Or it can be asset data. Data can be anything. I think understanding what you want as an outcome is the big thing. I think that was all of them. I'll come back and I can respond to questions.
I think we have the last one from Anonymous, that is the ideology of VDC and its environment in between digital delivery and digital twin?
Yeah, I guess it is. I think the only addition would be for the digital twin is getting that feedback from a live physical asset. So we're about to enroll on that journey, looking at a trial over in United Utilities region, where we're getting monitoring data from the site and feeding that back to our 3D model and the asset data. So yeah, VDC is kind of the digital, not the digital twin, the digital version of the physical asset, and then it's ensuring that you feed back with live data from the project.
Great. And just answering Jackie's question, yes, this session is being recorded, and everyone who subscribed will receive by mail the recording. So yes, it will. So thank you very much. So if you want to look deeper into this, check out the program, because there we have a very comprehensive syllabus that will cover VDC and other topics related to infrastructure projects. So Claire, thanks again.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone joining us and for all your questions, and hope to see you soon in another masterclass.